You're sitting in the cab. The sun is dropping fast. There's grain still standing in the field that has to come off tonight. And the screen in front of you lights up with a code you cannot clear. The engine runs fine. The machine will not move. Here is what I know that they spent a fortune teaching me to never say out loud. That tractor was built to stop on purpose so that you would have to call them. I spent years on the inside selling that exact promise to men just like you. And before this is over, I am going to hand you the one thing the Library of Congress quietly made legal in this country, the thing your dealer still swears to your face is a crime. I remember standing in the back lot of a dealership outside Cedar Rapids on a gray October morning, watching a farmer beg a service writer to clear a code so he could finish his beans before the rain. The writer told him the soonest a tech could come was 9 days out. That man lost a third of his crop. And I stood there in my branded jacket and said nothing. That is the morning I started keeping notes. By the end of this video, you will know about a federal filing, a signed agreement dated the 8th of January, 2023, and a price gap so wide it will make you sick. And if you already own one of these lockdown machines and you think this video is only for the guy shopping for his next tractor, stay with me, because the part built for you is coming. Let me start with the thing I believed when I first put on that jacket. I believed I was selling freedom. I believed I was handing farmers the most advanced iron ever built, machines that would outwork anything their fathers ran. And in a way, that was true. The horsepower was real, the comfort was real, the precision was real. What I did not understand, what almost nobody on the sales floor understood in those early years, was that every one of those features came with a leash. We told you that you were buying a tractor. What you were actually buying was permission to operate a tractor. Permission that could be revoked from a server hundreds of miles away. Here is how the trust worked, because it always starts with trust. You grew up on green paint or red paint, whatever your daddy ran. You trusted that name the way you trust a handshake, and the company knew that. They built their entire model on the loyalty of men who would rather die than switch colors. So when the computers came in, when the controllers and the sensors and the software arrived in the late 1990s and through the 2000s, you trusted that too. You assumed it was there to help you. And at first it was, but somebody in a boardroom looked at that loyalty and saw something else. They saw a customer who could not say no. They saw a recurring revenue stream wearing overalls. That is the first layer. Somebody profited from your trust. But that is the smallest part of this. And I need you to understand how the machine actually traps you, because the mechanism is more clever than anything you would expect. So let me show you the lock itself. When something fails on a modern tractor, the machine throws a diagnostic code. On an old tractor, a code was just information. You read it, you grabbed your wrench, you fixed the part, you went back to work. On these new machines, certain codes do not just tell you what is wrong. They disable the equipment until a technician with a specific tool comes out and authorizes the repair. That tool is called Service Advisor. It is the dealer-only diagnostic software, and for years the company refused to sell it to you at any price. I watched farmers offer to pay thousands of dollars for the same laptop program sitting on my desk, and the answer was always no. Think about what that means. You can replace the part yourself. You can have the new sensor in your hand, the right part number, installed correctly, but the machine will not recognize it until the software says so. The repair is not mechanical anymore. The repair is a permission slip, and only one person in the county can sign it. I sat in a training session once where they explained the strategy to us in plain language. They did not call it a trap. They called it a service relationship. They showed us charts. They told us that parts and service were where the real money lived, far more than the sale of the machine itself. An independent research group later put hard numbers on what I heard in that room. Studies on dealer service margins have shown that the repair and parts side of the business can run profit margins 3 to 6 times higher than selling the tractor. The tractor is the bait. The repair is the hook. And the software is the line that keeps you from ever swimming away. Now you understand the lock. But here is the question that should make your stomach turn. If they can stop your machine from across the country, what else can they do, and who gave them the right? Let me tell you about a day in the spring of 2022 that proved exactly what these companies are capable of, because they did it in front of the whole world and almost nobody connected the dots. When Russian forces rolled through southern Ukraine, soldiers looted a dealership in the city of Melitopol. They hauled off combines and tractors worth around $5 million, loaded them on trucks, and shipped them more than 700 miles back toward Chechnya. And then those machines went dead. Every one of them. The company had remotely disabled the stolen equipment, bricked it from a server. The thieves ended up with millions of dollars of green iron they could not so much as start. Now, when I first heard that story, part of me cheered, "Good, serves the looters right." But then I sat with it, and the cold truth crawled up my spine. The same power that stopped a thief in a war zone is the power they hold over you. The same kill switch. The same server. The same finger hovering over the same button. The only difference between you and that looted combine is that you are still making payments. You do not own a machine with an off switch you control. You own a machine with an off switch somebody else controls, and you are renting the privilege of hoping they never press it. That is the second layer. They did not just profit from your trust. They built a remote leash and proved to the entire planet that it works. But here is where it stops being a story about software and starts being a story about your bank account. Before I show you exactly how the money bleeds out, I want to step back for just a moment, because everything I've been telling you took me years to piece together from the inside, and I did not want to keep it locked up. I put the full picture into a book called Fixed or Owned, and the follow-up, Break the Lock, so that any farmer could sit down with the whole story in one place. The mechanisms, the legal exemptions, the paper trail, all of it laid out without a paywall or a permission slip. You can find it mentioned in the description below. If this video is landing for you, those books are where the deeper research lives. Now, back to the numbers. Because this is where the betrayal turns into real money bleeding out of real farms. Let me give you the numbers, because this is where the betrayal turns into real money bleeding out of real farms. A national consumer research group published findings that the right to repair restrictions on farm equipment cost American farmers an enormous amount every single year in unnecessary repair expenses and lost time. When a machine goes down mid-season and you have to wait for a dealer technician, you are not just paying for the repair, you are paying for the wait. Every hour that combine sits idle during harvest is yield you will never get back. Researchers at land-grant agricultural extension programs have documented that harvest delays of even a few days can cut yields by double-digit percentages depending on the crop and the weather. You do the math on 1,000 acres. The dealer does not eat that loss. You do. And the repair bills themselves. I wrote some of these invoices, so I am not guessing. A service call where a technician drives out to your farm can run well over $150 an hour before he even touches a bolt, plus travel time billed both directions. I have seen sensor replacements that cost the farmer a few $100s in parts turn into bills north of $1,000 once you added the diagnostic fee, the labor, the mileage, and the software authorization. For a repair you could have done yourself in an afternoon if they had simply let you. This is not a few bad dealers. This is the system working exactly as designed. And in 2022, farmers stopped just complaining and started suing. A wave of class action antitrust lawsuits was filed against the largest equipment maker, and they were consolidated into a single massive case in federal court in the Northern District of Illinois. The farmer's argument is brutally simple. The company illegally tied the sale of repair parts to its own dealer service by withholding the software tools needed to complete repairs, creating a monopoly over the repair of machines the farmers already owned. As of when I am telling you this, a federal judge has allowed that case to move forward rather than throwing it out. The company that trained me to call it a service relationship is now defending that relationship in front of a federal judge. So that is the third layer. They profited from your trust, they built the leash, and the courts are now examining whether the whole thing was illegal. But I promised you that if you already own one of these machines and you feel trapped, there is a part of this built just for you. This is it. Lean in. If you are sitting there tonight with a tractor or a combine in the shed that you are afraid to even open up because you think the second you touch it you will trip some lock and be at their mercy, I want to talk straight to you because I was the guy who profited from that exact fear. The fear is the product. So let me give you something real you can do. First, you do not have to keep buying parts through the dealer to feel safe. There is now a growing network of independent suppliers and farmer-run forums where owners share part numbers, workarounds, and the actual procedures for resetting non-critical codes without the dealer tool. Communities of farmers online have spent years documenting which codes are genuine safety lockouts and which are simply nuisance codes that can be cleared. Before you ever call for a 9-day out service appointment, find your make and model group and ask. The odds are high that a man 2 states over already solved your exact problem and wrote it down for free. Second, and this is the one that changes everything, the diagnostic software is not as locked away as it used to be. Under mounting public pressure, the largest manufacturer began offering a version of its customer service advisor to the public. You can subscribe to it. It is not perfect. It does not unlock every single function the dealer holds, but it gives you the ability to read codes, run diagnostics, and perform many calibrations from your own laptop in your own shop. The tool I once told farmers they could never have is now something you can put on your own computer. They will not advertise that to you. Your salesman will not bring it up. But it exists, and it exists because farmers refuse to shut up. Third, write down every dollar, every invoice, every wait time, every lost bushel. Keep a folder, because the legal and legislative fight is being won right now on the backs of farmers who kept records, and the documentation you keep tonight is the ammunition that protects every owner who comes after you. But knowing how to survive inside the trap is not the same as getting out of it. And the real reason I left, the thing that finally broke me, was watching where smart farmers started taking their money instead. Because there is an exit, and the companies are terrified you will find it. Here is the paradox that nobody in my old world wanted to say out loud. The most advanced tractors on earth are in many ways the most fragile place to put your livelihood. And the smartest farmers I know started doing 2 things that look completely opposite but solve the same problem. Some of them went backward in time, and some of them went across the ocean. Let me take the backward in time crowd first, because this one is beautiful. There is a reason a clean, mechanically injected tractor built in the late 1970s or the 1980s now sells for more than it did when it was several years old. At farm auctions across the Midwest, pre-computer, pre-emissions tractors have been bringing premium money. Machinery auction trackers have documented older models selling at prices that stunned people who assumed old iron only goes down in value. Why? Because that tractor has no kill switch. No server can reach it. No code can ground it. You can fix it with a wrench, a manual, and a Saturday. Farmers are voting with their checkbooks, and they are voting for machines that cannot be turned off from a distance. When a 40-year-old tractor outsells the idea of a new one for the simple reason that you actually own it, that tells you everything about what the new ones really cost. Now, the across-the-ocean crowd, for a long time, American farmers had 2 or 3 big domestic names and felt like that was the whole world. It is not. European manufacturers have spent decades building serious, heavy, capable machines, and a lot of them arrived in this country with a different attitude toward the people who buy them. I am talking about brands under the big European groups, names like Fendt, Deutz-Fahr, Valtra, Claas, and the broader lineups that compete directly with what you have always run. Farmers who made the switch tell the same story over and over in the forums and in the comments under videos like this one. They talk about dealers who actually let them access diagnostics. They talk about machines built to be worked on. They talk about a relationship that feels less like a leash and more like a partnership. And here is the part that hits the wallet. When you factor in what you are really paying over the life of a machine, the repair lock-in, the forced dealer visits, the downtime, the resale gap when buyers shy away from a model with a reputation for software headaches, the European and independent alternatives stop looking exotic and start looking like the responsible choice. I watched lifelong loyal customers, men who swore they would run one color until they died, quietly park something new in the shed with a different badge on it, not because they fell out of love with the old name, because the old name fell out of love with them first. That is the fourth layer, and it is the one they fear the most. Because a farmer who learns he can go backward to old iron or sideways to a new badge is a farmer who is no longer trapped. But none of that is the secret I promised you at the start. The secret is bigger, it is free, and your dealer has been lying to you about it for years. Here is the thing they buried, and I need you to really hear this, because it is the single most powerful fact in this entire video. For years, every time a farmer asked about getting around a software lock, the answer from my side of the counter was the same. We told you it was illegal. We told you that bypassing the manufacturer's software would violate federal copyright law, that you would be breaking the law the moment you touch the code that controls your own machine. We said it with a straight face. And a lot of farmers believed it and backed down. I backed them down. It was not true, or at least it stopped being true, and they never told you. Buried in the federal rulemaking process, the Library of Congress, which administers the exemptions to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, granted a specific exemption that allows the owner of agricultural equipment to legally circumvent the software locks on that equipment for the purpose of diagnosis, maintenance, and repair. They first opened this door years ago, and they have renewed and expanded it in the rulemaking cycles since. Read that again. The federal government has specifically said that you, the owner, have the legal right to get past the digital lock on your own machine to fix it. The exact thing my old colleagues told farmers was a crime is, under that exemption, protected. The fine print that was used to scare you was a bluff, and the people running the bluff knew it. This did not happen by accident, and it did not happen because the companies had a change of heart. It happened because a handful of stubborn farmers, repair advocates, and right-to-repair organizers showed up to a federal proceeding that most people did not even know existed and made the case cycle after cycle. They kept this door open with their own time and their own money while the corporation spent millions lobbying to slam it shut. One small community of people kept this alive so that you could walk through it. And now you can, and the legislative wall is cracking too. In the spring of 2023, Colorado became the first state in the nation to pass a right-to-repair law written specifically for agricultural equipment, signed in late April of that year. It requires manufacturers to provide farmers and independent shops the manuals, the tools, the parts, and yes, the software needed to fix their own machines, first in the country, not the last. Other states have bills moving right now. And remember that agreement I mentioned at the very start, the memorandum dated the 8th of January, 2023, the one the biggest manufacturer signed with the National Farm Bureau promising to improve repair access? Here is the thing they did not put in the headline. That memorandum is voluntary. It is not a law. It has no real enforcement teeth, and it explicitly steered farmers away from supporting the binding state laws that would actually force the issue. They signed a promise with one hand to stop you from demanding a guarantee with the other. The real protection is the law and the exemption, not the handshake. So here is what you can actually do this week. You can look up the agricultural exemption under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act and read it for yourself in plain language on public government and repair advocacy websites. You can subscribe to the manufacturer's own customer diagnostic tool and put it on your laptop. You can find your model's farmer-run forum and learn which codes are real and which are nuisance. And if you live in a state with a right to repair bill in motion, you can call your representative, because the only reason these laws pass is pressure from people exactly like you. The door is open. They just spent a lot of money making sure you never noticed. I walked away from that branded jacket because I could not keep standing in backlots watching men lose their harvest to a permission slip. You did not buy a subscription. You bought a machine. You bought it with money you earned in the dirt, and the right to fix what you own is not a feature they get to sell back to you one service call at a time. The leash was never legal the way they made it sound, and now you know it. You are the kind of person who fixes things, who keeps the manual in the shop and the wrench in your hand and passes the iron down to the next generation. That instinct, that refusal to rent what you already paid for, is not stubbornness. It is exactly what they were betting you would forget. Do not forget it. So tell me this, and be specific. What is the worst repair invoice or the worst downtime you have ever eaten waiting on a dealer to clear a code? Name the machine, name the bill, and tell me where you are watching from tonight. Put it in the comments, because every story in that comment section is another farmer realizing he is not crazy and not alone. I read them, and they are the reason this fight is being won. If you are ready to stop renting your own iron and take it back, this is the place. Follow along, because there is a movement of owners doing exactly that, and you belong in it. Next time, I am going to show you the exact list of part numbers and diagnostic tools farmers are using to clear the most common lockout codes themselves, the list they never wanted printed. You earned the truth tonight. Next time, you get the toolkit. And before you go, let me leave you with one more thing I carried out of that building, because it is the part that still keeps me up at night. The men who designed this system are not cartoon villains. They are smart people who looked at a population of loyal, hard-working owners and saw a captive market that would keep paying because it had nowhere else to turn. That is the whole trick. The trap only works as long as you believe there is no exit. The moment a farmer learns about the exemption, subscribes to the diagnostic tool, calls his state representative, or simply walks onto a lot with a different badge and asks hard questions, the spell breaks. One informed owner costs them a fortune over a lifetime of repairs they can no longer force. So multiply that by every person watching this right now. That is what they are afraid of. Not one lawsuit. Not one state law. A whole generation of owners who finally understand that the leash was a choice they were tricked into accepting and a choice they can refuse. I gave up a steady paycheck to tell you this, and I would do it again, because I spent too many mornings and too many backlots watching good people lose to a permission slip. You are not a renter. You are an owner. Start acting like the truth I just handed you is yours, because it is. Now go take your iron back. You're still here, which tells me you want the whole answer, so let me keep going. Inside the circle, I've put the complete self-repair toolkit for locked machines, picking up right where this video stopped. In there, you can ask me your own question, and a real person, me, answers you myself. You won't be doing this alone. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen. Cancel anytime, one click.